One forgotten USB stick sparked a $10 billion idea. It wasn't a boardroom, it wasn't a genius mentor, it wasn't even a startup pitch. It was just one young guy on a bus staring out the window, pissed off. And in that exact moment, he started building one of the most viral products the world has ever seen. This is the true story of Drew Houston, the founder of Dropbox, and how he turned one small pain into a movement that changed how the world works. Drew Houston was 24, a bright young MIT grad, curious, quiet, a bit introverted. But like every student, he carried this weight around him: files, codes, notes, which was scattered around flash drives, hard disks, and random folders. And on this one ride to New York, he forgets his USB drive. That one mistake, it cost him his entire weekend of work. A dumb, tiny oversight. But it cut deep. And here's where most people stop. They complain, they shrug, and eventually they move on. But Drew didn't. He opens his laptop, no Wi-Fi, just code and caffeine. And somewhere between Boston and New York, he begins building the first version of Dropbox, a folder that just syncs with itself everywhere. It wasn't fancy, it wasn't sexy, but it was simple and effective. It solved a real annoying daily problem faced by all remote workers, especially people working on their laptops. So lesson number one for every founder: scratch your own itch. Solve a problem you care about so much that you would build it even if no one paid you. Now back in Boston, Drew recruits Arash Ferdowsi, a quiet genius from MIT who lived and breathed code. Together, they lock themselves in an apartment, grind out for months, and build a tool that works like magic. But when they pitch it, investors are unimpressed. And I quote, "You're competing with Microsoft. Google will kill you. Why would anyone use this instead of email?" Over and over rejection they faced. Doors slammed, eyebrows raised. And this was the story which they faced over and over again with dozens of investors. So lesson number two for founders: most investors can't see what you see, especially when you're building something which is radically different and yet deceptively simple. But Drew had one final card to play. He didn't just build a product, he built a story around the product. So what he did was he built a demo video, but not just any demo. It was filled with Easter eggs for the Reddit crowd. Subtle humor, geeky in-jokes, hidden references. It made you feel like this is built for people like me, which were primarily coders and developers back in the early times. The video hit Hacker News, then Reddit, and then the entire blogosphere. From 5,000 people on the waitlist to 75,000 signups in a single day. Now that's what we call truly viral, for a product that wasn't even live. So lesson number three for founders: build something that people actually want, but tell the story like it's a movement. People don't just buy features, they join something they believe in. Dropbox got into Ycombinator and things finally picked up. But then came the real magic. They launched their legendary referral program. You got free storage for every friend you referred. But not just you, your friend got storage too. It was double-sided, frictionless, and addictive. It turned users into marketers. Some users invited hundreds of new users. One brought in 2,000 people single-handedly. Dropbox grew to millions of users without spending on ads. This was the ultimate growth hack. So based on this, here's the lesson number 4 for founders. Don't just acquire users. Design virality into your product. Growth isn't about marketing budgets. It is about human psychology. And then came the call, the dreaded call. Steve Jobs. Apple wanted to acquire Dropbox. Drew flew all the way to Cupertino, sat across from Jobs, and the offer, massive, life-changing. But Jobs called Dropbox a simple feature, not a product, a small puzzle piece in the huge, gigantic Apple machine. So Drew smiled and said no. Imagine, he turned down Steve Jobs because he didn't want to build a small feature. He wanted to build a foundational technology company, and that decision changed everything. Dropbox today has over 700 million users, and we rarely think about it. We drag a file into a folder and it appears everywhere instantly. It feels like magic. This was the start behind Google Drive as well, and you can start editing and making the changes in the entire G Suite. But it all started with Dropbox, and behind that quiet magic was one frustrated student on a bus who just wanted to finish his work, but because he forgot his pen drive, his USB drive, he could not get that completed. So, founders, remember this: start with pain, not trends. Tell stories, not specs. Design growth into your product. Say no when it matters, and most importantly, build for people like you who are going to be avid users of the product. Because the best ideas don't always start with funding, they start with frustration, with obsession, with a moment. And once you reach that stage and then you solve a real problem like this, trust me, you will never be short of money. There's plenty of capital to go around. The problem is finding the right problem to fix with a big enough market size. So, if this story fired you up, share this with your friends. Drop a comment if you ever built something out of frustration, and subscribe for more true stories of how small moments like this became billion-dollar startups. Because your next idea might be in your backpack or left behind in a USB stick.